Souradeep Sinha's pick has been family-owned and operated since 1918, and the classic Italian dishes are all served with an unusual side, live opera singing. For pasta and an aria, he dines at Victor Café in South Philly.
The Victor Café, it was originally my grandfather's Victor Record and Victrola shop. He loved opera, sold records all the way up through the Depression. He, at that point, purchased a beer and wine license and turned the record shop into a cafe whilst he sat in the back and spun his inventory during dinner. More often than not, a customer would stand up and push his plate of pasta aside and belt one out. In '79, we hired a waiter who coincidentally was an opera student. So once in a while, he would sing. And then a year later, coincidentally again, another opera student. And now it has evolved, not by design, but evolved into that the entire wait staff performs opera. If a guest comes to the Victor Café that's never been here before, I hope that they can see the value of this place as far as enjoying a wonderful dinner, well prepared and honestly, and then to be surprised by the vocal performances of the staff.
Souradeep, Victor Café is a really unique spot. Tell us why you picked it.
Thank you so much for asking that question. So it's a very special spot for me because 2 years ago, my first birthday in Philly, my sister, she actually took me out there to dine for my birthday, and they sung Happy Birthday to me with their opera voices, and I fell in love with that restaurant right then and there.
I'm blown away that you discovered it so early because you've only been here for 2.5 years. It took me 6 years to find this place. 6 years, because it's hidden in a little neighborhood. It's like off of the Italian market, kind of tucked away in a residential neighborhood.
Exactly. If you do not know, or if you have not heard of a recommendation of this restaurant, there's no way that you know. And that is pretty much apparent when you go on weekdays, that for a restaurant of that caliber, there's still kind of not completely full and cramped up. So that's why I think that's a perfect hangout spot for anybody who loves music and loves good company to be dining over.
And it really allowed for some moments where I literally felt like moved. Like I would just close my eyes and kind of take in the music, and it was wonderful.
Because you know a thing or two about
opera.
opera.
Yeah, I do. I went to college for opera. I'm a classically trained baritone. But we were kind of dreading this one, my wife and I, because we don't love those experiences that feel like manufactured or disingenuous. Total opposite. When they started singing, they ring the bell, everyone gets quiet, the piano starts, which is wonderful, they explain where the aria is coming from. This is the character I'm playing, this is the opera it's from, this is the story. I found that so engaging. And then you can just kind of like sit. I even like stopped eating. They don't say you have to.
Me too. I don't want my forks and my cutlery clinging while they're
And some
singing.
people didn't, that's totally fine. As long as they weren't talking, it was great. I really just kind of like lost myself during the songs, and I loved it. I loved the whole experience. My wife and I both.
I can watch you melt right here, right now.
There was one moment at the end where our server actually sang, and I closed my eyes, and not to take away anything from the other servers, but it was transcendent. It was like I lost where I was for a moment, was just able to kind of close my eyes, and like I got emotional. I was sitting there, stuffed to the gills from the meal. It was the very end, right before we got our check, and I was like, this was beautiful, a beautiful experience.
Madeleine, how was the calamari?
It was really good. It was somewhat of a small size, but perfect just to like nibble on for a little bit. It was very good.
How was the chicken piccata?
It was delicious. It was served over pasta. It had capers on top. It just tasted super flavorful, and I loved it.
Souradeep, you usually get pasta, ravioli pasta, but this time you got the seared salmon steak.
Yes,
How was it?
I went out of my comfort zones. The fish was perfectly seasoned, perfectly broiled. It had the good amount of crunch on its skin, and the flesh was like the tender as tender can be.
I had the veal saltimbocca, so it was like very thin veal cutlets with prosciutto. I think it might have been pan-seared prosciutto on top. There was definitely more texture to it than just a cured prosciutto over risotto. The risotto was a little on the porridgey side, which can happen with risotto. It was delicious, but the texture was just on the softer side than I would prefer. But the sauce that it was put on, the whole presentation was absolutely incredible. It's one of those meals that I'm still thinking about. It's been over a week and I'm still thinking about it. My wife had the ravioli with the saffron cream and the crab ravioli.
Filling, yeah.
And it was very good. I loved it. The filling was a little crab cake-esque. It was very red pepper, red bell pepper flavor. So it did taste a little bit like a crab cake that was put into a ravioli. But it was very, very well prepared overall.
Crabs with saffron. Who even thinks of that?
Yeah, it was. I know the saffron was very. I almost think it was more for. It wasn't the predominant flavor for sure.
It's for the smell.
It's for the smell and for the color. I think for sure too. But it was really good.
Because they have the opera music going, you kind of expect that the food might suffer or might not be as good quality. But the food was just as good on its own. The food could really stand the test.
Easily.
It was delicious.
Madeleine, how was the tiramisu?
Oh, it was really delicious. So my friend actually got the tiramisu and then I got the chocolate cake and we kind of split them, which was definitely the move because you got to try out 2 delicious desserts.
Yeah, and adding to that, generally I stick to either the creme brulee or the one that you had, which was tiramisu. But again, for this time, I went completely out of my comfort zone and I had the chocolate lava cake and I also had something called the limoncello mousse. I don't remember the exact name of it, but that's what it was made up of. Blown away by it. I loved it. I like the hardness of it. I like the softness of it. I like the velvety feeling of it. Everything was perfect for me for the dessert.
Souradeep, you got a drink that had some lime and some basil in it. What was it called?
So let me prep for it. It was called La Vinta Giardiniera. Italians who are hearing this, I am sorry. It is not my thing, but I tried my best. It was vodka with lime and basil, and it was so amazing. What it made amazing was that it is as complicated as its name, but when you drink it, it's like the perfect mixture of everything. You are able to taste every single component separately, yet you cannot put your finger on it, which one you're tasting at what time. So that's why I thought that cocktail was really amazing. And I'm not even a vodka drinker, but I loved it.
Souradeep, Victor Café is your pick. Sum it up for us.
Thank you. So I would definitely like to say that, have you been to good Italian restaurants? They are Lexuses, and this restaurant is the Lamborghini for you. That would be my sum up.
Madeleine, sum it up for us.
Delicious food, a great way to be exposed to something you might not ordinarily be exposed to, opera music, and really get the feel for South Philly Italian culture.
Rob, sum up Victor Café.
Yeah, I think the Italian people and the Italian culture in South Philly has a very long track history, and this is a perfect place to go to feel like you're stepping back in time a little bit into a place that loves what it does and has done it well for a very long time.
Prepare your ears and your taste buds for a meal at the Victor Café, located at 1303 Dickinson Street in Philadelphia, 215-468-3040. Open for dinner 7 nights a week, and reservations are accepted. The average tab per person without drinks is $39.